and sisters, generals, welcome to another edition of EBX discussion. And may that great divine just be in our life and keep us strong and keep us prospering, And I honor thy ancestors, the generals, those who fought through tooth and nail with little or nothing to get many of us in that great divine space that we are in. Just got to be thankful, and it's been like my son Lord Lamont and I spoke on. It was a kind of a challenging week last week, but we come through, we learn. Once we mature as brother, sister, family, male or female, we develop this willpower and we're able to anticipate things and as well as our emotions, things in the world, person, place, thing, the usual, especially ourselves, That's how we can stay focused on our inner circle and outer, and it's a wonderful thing when we can get to a space when we are aware as spell breakers, something my son Lord Lamont came up with. And good day, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time zone we're in. And we're alive and breathing. We are back to conquer another day, another year, and another decade. Don't forget that. Always get up, rise when we are rise from our rest, our sleep, and automatically have powerful affirmations before we start our day, as generals, firm, ready. And because when we're ready, we don't have to get ready, right? We hear that a lot, but when we're living it, it's so very true. And salute to my family, my biological children, my divine brothers and sisters, and my biological brothers and sisters, and those that I've met along the way, the generals I've met along the way, in the world, online, all part of life. As I told my son, Lord Lamont, life is like a puzzle, and when you really think back and connect the dots and you fit the divine puzzles right where they supposed to be. Sometimes things happen in our life we can't explain till later on, especially if we clinging to that divine spirit. And of course, learn a little bit about Mother Nature. It's a lot we can learn about Mother Nature. You hear that a lot from our greatest philosophers, because it's beautiful. It's educational, it's beautiful, it frees the mind. You can get a sense of peace, sense of clarity wherever we are. We at a park, wherever. Just get somewhere in the field, somewhere where it's nothing but you, nature, and the sun, leaves, birds, and just look up in the sky and just appreciate it. I find myself doing that, really appreciating beauty, because nature sees us all day, every day. Like I notice birds and everything. Like I used to say, every time I go back and forth to my car, I always hear this crow every other day. It greets me, and when you get a little deeper into spirituality and really taking it serious, you'll notice little things like that in nature and divine moments in general. It's a wonderful space to be in, but it takes work. It takes focus, not being distracted by everything, swayed by everything, and staying centered in one soul, deep in that core. It's beautiful, and look for more music. Of course, we're going to have a hip hop break, and really enjoyed the father and son discussion I had with my son, Lord Lamont. And we did have a few technical difficulties. And we spoke on hip hop. It was hip hop, music, and comedy. We had fun. We had a lot of fun. Did some voices and just talked about funny moments in the media and comedians and hip hop artists, some positive, some not so positive. Just things that has to do with hip hop, because my son and I, we love music, all kinds of music. And it's beautiful how he and I can pick each other's brains and go deep on topics and have fun. Because as I always say, folks, never, ever forget to have fun and let nothing take our joy. I'm begging you, let nothing in this world take our joy. But it was a wonderful father and son discussion we had. And as I said, it was a couple of technical difficulties. I had trouble with the banner, so I had to change it, because actually it was like my banner here. It was above and beyond the buildings, but it was a what they call it, it was a still podcast, or like a still picture. It wasn't Because my thing is I like to show, rising above the buildings. Because my thing on this channel is I like to say above and beyond in our thoughts, ourselves, and in others, you know. But we got through it because that's what we do when we cling to that divine. We just let it flow, We embrace our quirks and so-called weird things and be who we are, and we can breathe. It's wonderful. And that's what brings divine perseverance, which I want to get to. And on my thumbnail is Brother E on Fox 6 when I had to cook all those burgers. If you could see on the thumbnail, that was a challenge, cooking all those burgers and stuff. Yes, I was on Fox 6 News, nothing to brag about or nothing. This is probably about a week ago, almost 2 weeks ago. And the camera came in where I work at, and in Milltown, the Brewers got diehard fans in the Milltown, so they were doing a news report on Brewer Burgers and George Webb, which is a popular restaurant here in Milltown, and it's the only state or city George Webb is. It's in no other city or state, so I thought that was unique. And not that, because I don't really do TV, and I could care less about fame or any of that shit. So, but it is kind of nice to that happened, and it just kind of happened. It's just one of those divine things. It's something. A lot of times we got to get that great divine control. We got to let that force do what it do. Mama Nature, that universe. Sometimes we don't understand, overstand, or understand what that great divine is doing. But at some point or another in time, because remember, we're in divine time, not our time or man's time. So divine time, great divine, you just never know what'll come along on our purpose or path, but it all depends on our level of thinking, where we are, in our divine space, and how we view the world, person, place, thing, TV, celeb, so on and so forth. So I'm saying all that to say that divine does little things sometimes just to see what we'll do, to test us every now and then, in my theory. So me being on Fox, which is cool, a lot of people say, hey, Eric, I seen you on TV. That's my name, by the way, if nobody knows. That's my name, Eric. But they say, I seen you on TV, which is kind of nice. It's nice to be noticed, but we be humble about it. We don't get lost in our own hype. That's something I'm a stickler on that, because it's evidence all around us, breathing, speaking, just seeing, hearing, shouldn't take those things for granted, just be grateful for the things we do come across in this life as brother, sister, general, family, and keep on forging forward, as a lot of my divine generals, warriors, spell breakers have been doing, I'm sure. Because if one is listening to this channel, or my son, Lord Lamont, or anyone that's a deep thinker, you either on your way or you're there. Because again, it could, different strokes, different folks. It can take a lifetime. It can take layers, resilience, experiences, so-called setbacks. Whole lot of things build a general. But be thankful if one is a strong, firm general, and that's family, brother, sister, younger or older, in the world, online. So that's what's on the thumbnail. And you definitely can learn perseverance on the job. As I told my son, Lord Lamont, as we sit in that discussion about hip-hop music and comedy, we let the job evolves around us. We don't evolve around the job. As I always bring up every now and then, as a great brother say, we are the center of our universe or universe. So we control what evolves around us. We must be control of that. Now, easier said than done, but the results, brothers and sisters, results is what will keep us persevering right on through. Now, of course, I always say I'm not this perfect brother. I don't do everything right, but right is definitely in the focus. You know what I'm saying? Is that righteous sparrow? Because there's too many results, too many good things come from making righteous choices. It's not about just being this perfect righteous, because you hear that word righteous and it sounds corny to some people, but it's just a way of life. It's just a word. A lot of us are living righteous, and it's not about being this person, this holier than thou type person. It's just a brother and sister family with a solid, good heart, that's just living right. And when we just automatically living right, divine things will follow. They will come, things will happen we can't explain. That's gravity. It's energy, that's more than just a theory or no, it's facts. When we put out positive energy, because I've experienced it, and those who do put out positive energy, I'm sure have, experienced getting positive energy back. Energy is real, so however you spend your energy will determine, what you'll get, what the currency will get in return. So been there, done that. The woulda, coulda, shoulda, brothers and sisters. I call it the woulda, coulda, syndrome. We should be out of those woulda. Once we've been through, I've said it before, but once we've been through those woulda, coulda, shouldas, there is no excuses, especially if we're healthy, and we're able, we can think right. If we don't have medical conditions or something that we can't control within ourselves, but if we have full on control as a human being, brother, sister, male or female, there is no excuses, And again, that's for me too. And of course, I want to get into a summary, and I just want to break down the benefits of divine perseverance, and when we develop it and we can pass it on to others, our youth, of course, our children, our significant other, that righteous realm. Remember, we start with ourselves, children, family, significant other, work our way out. That's how it works. And that's how we get powerful energy to come back to us when we do pass it out. Even if we do run across toxic individuals, we learn from them too. Everything of this life that come from that great divine Mother Nature in that universe is a lesson one way or another. It's just that unfortunately some lessons are tougher than others, challenging than others, or harder, but a lesson nonetheless. That's what I told my son, Lord Lamont. I don't look at it's no such thing as regrets. They're lessons. Regret is a state of mind, just like being free, success, etc., etc. It always will go back to how one thinks in that core, and it's wonderful. And I got another chakra I got to work on. The last chakra I worked on was the third eye, sixth chakra. I got one more to go, because in my opinion and or theory, studying the chakras is a good way for one to get to know themselves. I mean, like spiritually, seriously, to see how we tick, studying our chakras. That's just could be an opinion or a theory. But once you begin studying our chakras, the mind, the pineal gland, and, cosmic things that the human body's not used to, once we start and we start seeing things that we can do, to better ourselves as far as our psyche and our mental, it becomes fun, and of course, to some of the stuff that we have buried, but that can be amazing too. Even if it is challenging, you're like, wow, stuff that's just buried. We would be surprised if when we go digging into our subconscious, what we will dig up if we're not afraid to. Be amazed, and face it head on, because I say time and time again, we as humans, we don't know what's coming down the road. But guess what knows? That great, great divine, little reflection is always our evidence. Those divine events, divine moments that just pulled us through, just think back. That's our reminder to keep forging forward in the space we're in. Whether we think it's small or big, no. We can be in a small space, but think big, and I don't mean arrogantly or ego or nothing like that. Just, divine confidence in oneself that we can persevere through anything without hurting anyone along the way, because things take time. Some silence is required, that give us time to think, process things. Like Lord Lamont said, he had a little challenge with his girl Trish, and he spoke on it. They kind of had a little spat, which that happens in relationships, but we mature, we get better, we think of ways to better oneself, and not try to over talk or argue, because blind ignorance in arguing is the worst thing. For one, it wastes energy, it wastes time, nothing gets solved. So name calling, over talking, undermining, danger. Got to stay away from shit like that, especially getting up into our golden era, our golden age. We all gonna get old one day. So can't do childish things forever. At some point we gotta grow, gotta learn how to observe, talk things out. For one, stress. As I say, stress can be a silent killer. Stress is no joke. It's like a virus. Once it gets in and it's not controlled, it'll reach out through the whole body. And then when we are like vulnerable for stress, and we just got stress all the time, we're also vulnerable for diseases or illnesses, because stress weakens the immune system. Can't think properly. When our stress weakens our immune system, everything that's in this life, everything we do is attached to our immune system. We're laughing, sad, happy, everything, our emotions. Because just think about it. Think about it when we're really feeling, those like when we felt down about something that was really bad, how it made us feel. It could bring your whole aura, your whole spirit down, So that's the real reason why we work on our divine perseverance and willpower, Like me on my thumbnail, cooking those burgers every day ain't easy. How people, we all know how people can be. And these days, not all people, but most people are zombified and act like robots and on one track thinking. And that's one thing we got to stay away from. One track thinking, exploring our mind, exploring the world, and go outside of ourselves, righteously, and just do things different than the norm. Like when I went to the lake with my kids, with my son and my divine kids and Ethan's mom. And that's something I don't normally do, not nothing really spectacular, but something different outside the norm. And it was beautiful. I got it right here on my channel. I'll put it in the end screen. It was beautiful, and it made me want to do it again. See, when we take that step, make that effort, other things will follow. Like I'll use looking up words as an example. I always relate like looking up words and a definition to life. When we take that step and explore something new, we be like, wow, I'm glad I did this, And it's beautiful when we explore things like that. Like I'm telling you, exploring it, like studying our chakras, astronomy, anything that makes our mind expand and learn new things, whatever that is. But outside of these little bubbles, the evil entities around us will try to keep us in. Weak as that be, as I call them. I don't call them powers that be. I call them weakest that be. We got to stop giving them that damn energy. They don't have no fucking power. They have a powerful illusion, but they have no power. We have to stop saying that. I don't even know where that came from. Powers that be. Fuck out of here. Weak as that be. Because that's why all the tactics and have to, lie to the world and the public and everything, because they are weak. That's why they do that. So, and that white supremacy shit, they're not supreme. That's why I don't like saying that shit. I know I'm a little educated about it, know about it, but they're not fucking supreme. No one is supreme. There's only one supreme being, and we know who that is. That's that great, great divine mama nature in that universe. It ain't no man in no suit to call himself president of the fucking state, no, or city, whatever, So that's an illusion in their head. They have an illusion of power, but they have no power. Maybe influence, over the public, but power, no. Weakest that be. So that's just my own preference, my own theory. But when you have been through experiences, a lot of our generals out here, some with platforms, some not. I'm talking all. Some that just been through the madness and standing firm and has no time for nonsense. We have finally connected to that divine perseverance. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful. Perseverance, man. It's wonderful when you think back to the times when we just blazed through the toughest times, times that, brother, sister, family, that we thought we'd never make it through, or how we was going to get it out. But somehow, some way, we persevered, didn't we? That's how we know. That's why we're here today. If you standing firm today, I don't care what space we are in, you're here for a reason. Divine doesn't work on accidents or consequences. No, everything is about timing, puzzle pieces, connecting the dots, But again, one have to be deeply rooted spiritually in the pit of that soul with no bullshit within. As less as possible, less stress, no stress at all. That way we can see clear, and give out energy, because that's important. That's how we keep it going. That's how nature works. It's like it's the circle of life. You see a homeless person, give them $1 or something. Somebody needs some help doing something, help them. No matter how we feel, we don't know. Again, we're not supposed to understand or overstand what that great divine is doing. If it has it ever led us wrong, when we had that divine spirit within us, a good feeling, and we went getting ready, has it ever led us astray? So follow that spirit. Sometimes I have to remind myself. The great divine sometimes tell me, look, shut up. What did I tell you? Didn't I say follow me? So that's just me. That's that divine spirit speaks to one sometimes. You hear me say many times, when that great divine tell me to speak, I speak. When it tells me to shut up, I shut up. And we get a little wiser up in our golden years or awareness. We tend to listen to that divine voice a little more, especially if we've known, we gotten results, evidence of our life, that it's led us in the right direction, and leading one to my banner, like my banner here. I've said it, I've had dreams about the sky and the water, and I used to have dreams about me flying, and it's good to look those things up because they mean something, pay attention to our dreams. I'm telling you, there's many ways to tap into that spiritual world. I'm talking about a righteous spiritual world. Dreams are one of them because, I think dreams are so unique. People just float, not everybody though, but, some people just float through life and don't stop and smell the roses, so to speak, and just, explore things. And dreaming is, man, I'm telling you, dreams are very, very unique. They really are. And you can almost anticipate the future when we pay attention to our dreams. And that's so, I'm always infatuated with buildings, nightlife. I like the nightlife, the city lights at night. I think it's beautiful, and during the day. So you always see that on one's banner. And that's what was supposed to be on the banner with Laura Lamont and our father and son discussion when we talked about hip hop, music and comedy. And we had some technical difficulties, so I couldn't get the video to work. So I just put a stationary picture of the above and beyond the city, and I had across the banner was hip hop music. It was in yellow letters, comedy, but we enjoyed ourselves. We really had fun, because it's all about the therapy, and it kind of looked like artwork. And we talked about artwork and stuff because he likes to draw. I used to draw. My mom was an excellent drawer, used to draw. And just be thankful if Great Divine has given you multiple gifts. Some of us have multiple gifts, and like I say, I just flow with it. If it's righteous, I don't ask Great Divine no questions. I just flow with it, long as it's not hurting ourselves or hurting no one else. But man, it's beautiful when we have divine perseverance. Not just perseverance, but that divine perseverance where you can just plow through any storm, which can be challenging. But when we've been through enough storms, we got practice. We become a general. We know how to anticipate things. We can sense things. Remember that realm before it even get close to us or others we are connected to. Like in my thumbnail there, you see me working. I could be, because I, again, I'm not perfect. I get emotions and feel things, but again, when we see those results, when we have plowed through, and we may learn some stuff ourselves along the way, teachers, family, it's all part of that puzzle, that we have learned from, generals we've learned from along the way in the world, online. It's wonderful when we can acknowledge, honor our righteous teachers out here, because they're far and few. They really are. And it's so challenging trying to be a positive brother or sister, especially, I mean, in the world in general, but if we do happen to have a platform, because you got a lot of false ones out there. Not that I'm perfect now, nothing, but it just makes it hard for someone who really does have a genuine good heart. And I'm talking about any brother or sister out there, that do mean well, and maybe starting a platform or have a platform. When you have false prophets and people taking advantage of the listeners and using Cash App just to get money and all that, it makes it really challenging for a true blue general, brother or sister, male or female, that if they are fortunate to have a platform. But I'm talking about just in general. But all I can say, my generals out there, those who do mean well, keep persevering, stand firm, keep marching on. Let nothing discourage us, And we got right in our heart. We have nothing to worry about, right? Keep on forging forward and keep our eye on that divine righteous sparrow. Remind yourself, listen to that divine voice. Don't listen to outside things, Listen to that divine voice deep within. We all have. We just got to listen to it, tap into it, flourish in this life, Be a cosmic being. It's not impossible. We all can be melanated cosmic beings. I'm telling you. Just look down through history, those who persevered before technology, before the internet and all this stuff. So it's not impossible. It's just a matter of tapping into one divine spiritual self. Yep. And so I guess let me see. I'm gonna get to this hip hop break because I usually do it around this time. And I was just feeling it. Woke up, feeling inspired, and like my banner here, we rise above and beyond anything petty. Our power is regal. We don't even have to try anymore. It's seventh nature. We see things clearly now. We can see clearly. One sees clearly now. The rain is gone. That was a song I made, actually. It's wonderful to get to that space, and a lot of us are. My son and I, Lord Lamont, all my children, my family, we've come a long way. A lot of us, we've come a long way. So we are here today, generals, spell breakers. We are here for a reason. So I'm gonna get to this hip hop break, and I'm gonna get back, and I want to do this breakdown, the benefits of developing a divine perseverance, persevere through everything, study, analyze. We get to a challenge, never give up, go at it at every angle, there's always a way. So that's why meditation comes. That's why you hear so many of us say meditate, because it stops, slows things down, get a grasp on things, like my son, Lord Lamont said, when him and his girl Trish was kind of having a little challenge, but they apologized to each other and they was mature and worked it out. Relationships can be, I want to say tough, depending on who we are. It can be challenging. It really can, especially when, a lot of us have grown up with conditions and certain ways of thinking and been through bad experiences with, with people in relationships. I'm talking about male or female. So I've been there too. I know what it can be like, but running over people, undermining, manipulating, damn sure is not going to help, So if we're not willing to really and seriously get to the pit of our soul and persevere through a relationship, leave it alone. Don't play with people, because people who do that anyway, that's undermining, using people, and it's male or female, don't matter. I mean, it'll come back around.
Funk the devil, I make his ass bleed. I break his ass down into his fucking knees. I gotta be strategic while we out in these.
And I keep on doing things to make us strong. Man, I kick this shit up off the dome. And I never leave this hip hop alone. And I keep on doing things to make us strong. Stay, man, all up in the zone. And a rock and shock and I do, man, this a lot, like I tell you all the time. I give brothers this prop, yeah. And I don't care about making songs. I keep on moving to it with this too. Ain't got no time, man, to lose, woo. And I never be confused, and I try to be a good dude. I got the music and the words that will soothe, cause I love my brothers, sisters, and my families too. Yeah, with it being through things, yeah. In this life I slang, yeah, the devil, I slam it, yeah, straight to the ground. That's why I'm around, I keep on doing this, that I make this sound, pound for pound, positive. Man, it's so all up in my soul, how I go, yeah, I lift up my family and my sisters and bro, man, staying strong, yeah, straight up in that divine zone, yeah. And I do this, man, straight up off the dome, let's go. I never leave hip hop alone, and I always doing things to make us strong. When I kick this shit up off the dome, Yeah, don't need no paper, yeah, and I think about it later. Doing things that'll come about my soul stuff, man, that make us greater. Yeah, moving forward, yeah, I say fuck the past. Can't change what's going, can't change what's behind our ass. And I keep it rolling. The future is what one see in this life. Like I say, I want us all to be free, yeah. And I never stop, I keep on doing this. Cause I got this gift and I love the way I twist it, man, I love to whip. But I never twist in this life, I keep the righteous way. That's why I good things my creator give me to say. Woo, gee, I kick it off the dome. I never leave hip hop alone. Doing things to make us all strong.
Yeah.
Real talk. Doing things to make us strong. That's what I do music for. Yep. So let's get back to it, brothers and sisters. And we're going to break it down. Let me see. Let's see here. All right. Got to get back to the Mo to the Joe. All right. Okay. Let's go. Yeah, we're going to get back into it, brothers and sisters. I'm going to break down the benefits of divine perseverance. Let's get into it. Leaders and teachers with a student spirit. Let's go. The benefits of divine perseverance include spiritual and character growth, such as a stronger knowing and a more resilient spiritual character, but also practical benefits like overcoming challenges, like I was talking about the job, stuff like that, achieving goals, and experiencing divine presence more fully, seeing things clearly, like I said, coming in tune with it. Think of all those fires we blaze through. That's that divine. See, believing or knowing who persevere, let's say believers who persevere may also find their anxiety decreases, and they receive a spiritual harvest. Like we bear fruit, like I say, we keep forging forward. We don't run over nobody along the way. We'll thank and love ourselves later. I'm telling you, receive a spiritual harvest in the form of increased holiness and stronger connection to that divine power. It's wonderful. All right, we're gonna keep going. All right, here we go. Spiritual and character benefits. Strengthen our knowing as we persist in spiritual practices and trust in that divine. Our knowing grows stronger and more resilient. Spiritual character and maturity. Perseverance leads to the development of divine character, spiritual maturity, and greater fruitfulness in one's knowing of their life. Increased holiness. We gotta watch that word holiness. But having a whole heart, being whole within, having a righteous heart, basically is what that means. But it doesn't mean we're perfect. We treat nobody bad, or we think we're better than someone. We better ourselves so we can teach others to better themselves or to become leaders themselves. All right. Experiencing and enduring hardship through perseverance can lead to a greater sharing in that divine holiness, as it serves as a form of divine discipline for good. Drives out anxiety. Persistence in knowing and deep meditation and/or deep prayer can release peace and drive out anxiety by turning it over to that great divine who cares more for us, that divine spirit. As I said, great divine spirit has never led us astray, if you think back. Real talk. So I want to read a page out of my book, and then I'm going to salute you divine warriors on to your divine life, and thank those for coming in to another edition of EBX Discussion. Current subscriber, new subscriber, anybody that view, divine perseverance, know it, have it, own it, embrace it, and be the best of oneself all day, every day. You had a great space, be even greater. Brother, sister, family, general, in the world, online, You disciplined, be even more disciplined. We can never be too disciplined. Real talk. And that's all areas of our lives: eating, behavior, how we interact with humans, relationships. Again, it's for me too. It's wonderful learning. Always have a student spirit. That way we won't miss things. We can learn and grow and expand in our mind and then in the world. All right, let's go. A page from my book, Unlocking the Vault. And this is page 39. I probably read this page before. 10/21/2024. All right, let's go. Leaders and teachers with a student spirit. An awakening is like the sun shining through the clouds that have been trying to shining through the clouds that have been trying to stop or block our blessings of life, defeat. Let me see. Go back. An awakening is like, sorry, y'all, forgive me. An awakening is like the sun shining through the clouds that have been trying to stop or block our blessings of life. Defeat psychological battles, and we become unstoppable. Practice silence, anticipation, and patience. Become in tune with our instincts, spirit, and intuition, and let that divine force lead the way. As I said, remember, say this to ourselves: we control us, period. Never place anything above that great divine. The divine will never lead us in the wrong direction. As I said, one, always look up our dreams, because that's our crystal ball. That divine shows us signs all the time, sometimes subtle or aggressive. In my experience, it's better to see the subtle, so we'll be ready for the aggressive signs. Real talk, in one's opinion and or theory. Because as my son and I, Lord Lamont, salute, as we said, great divine can show us things in glimpses, and nothing is coincidences or accidents. And when we know these things and we pay attention to them, study them, man, we will have divine perseverance. So thank those for coming in, and hope you got something out of what I said, some inspiring, and be on fire out there and be a general, brother, sister, family, real talk. And keep on studying and never lose, ever. I'm begging you, never ever lose that divine perseverance. Salute.